We've got Kayte.
Oh, great. Joining us right now. Part of her weekly, we moved her to 9 a.m. because, that's what she wanted. We make room for TV people. That's what we do. But she must be, she's busy because here we are, the one, the only, the voice of your Sacramento Kings, Kayte Christensen. Good morning.
Good morning. And I feel like I should say this. Reminders are good because I never know what day of the week it is.
Yeah. Maybe what about one of them candygrams where somebody just comes by the house and knocks and sings it like, now it's time for your weekly spot. Make sure that I don't know. I don't have anything. Actually, I don't have a second line, Kayte, but something like that.
Let's not venture out into another career, Dave. I don't think you're going to be that good at that.
Wow, Kayte, you're criticizing my singing. That's a first.
No, creativity, I think, is what it was. Criticism.
Kayte, Keegan Murray has been a topic this week, and even Keegan's dad got a little bit on social media. Nothing, out of pocket. Just there's some numbers that show that Keegan, believe it or not, is the worst in the NBA right now in shooting open 3-pointers. That's a defender not within 4 to 6 feet. I know you knew that, but for the audience, number one in the league though in field goal percentage in the paint. He also leads the league in miles ran. He either leads or is top 4 now, depending on the day, and minutes played. Do there need to be some adjustments, not just by Keegan? He obviously needs to shoot better from 3, but are there some things Mike Brown can do to help Keegan out, in your opinion?
So when you look at the number of open threes, what is Mike supposed to do to get him more open threes?
Yell.
I guess is the question.
Yell.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I agree with you there. I'm more talking about the post play.
It's not a coaching thing or a scheme thing. It's a rough start to the season shooting threes, but he's done so many other great things. And you look at kind of the Utah game, he started at center, and they have one of the biggest, front courts in the league. And I think they started 3 7-footers in that game. And so, you look at kind of how things have had to shift with injuries and responsibilities for guys that are on the floor and matchups and what they look like. I'm not worried about Keegan. He's proven that he's a great 3-point shooter, but he's also still just in his 3rd season. Consistency doesn't necessarily come early in people's career. The first season, he had an unbelievable, 3-point shooting barrage, but all he did was catch and shoot threes. That's all. He didn't come off the HOs. It's not like he's getting 3-point looks like Kevin. He got, spot up threes where his feet were set and he just went straight into the shot. So for me, he's added so many things to his game. Now it's just about putting them all together and being consistent. And that's just something that Keegan has to work through.
And I feel, Kayte, like he will, though. He's shown us that he has. He's a guy that personally I'm not that worried about. I love what he does defensively. His rebounding's elevated. And part of it, too, I think if everybody is there, so let's say Sabonis, DeRozan, Fox, they're all back. I'm just not entirely shocked that some of Keegan's offensive numbers are down. As long as he's efficient, I still think that could be a winning recipe for this team.
Yeah, look, to me, it's they're still trying to figure some things out too in terms of working DeMar, working DeMar into kind of the offensive scheme, and that changes the shots that people get. It changes what they run. It changes things down the stretch of the game, where they tend to go from more up tempo to more of an ISO type situation. But listen, if I'm being honest, and you look at what Keegan did numbers wise and shooting wise in his rookie year, I'd prefer the Keegan that we have in year 3, because he impacts the game in so many different ways now. He's not a one-dimensional player. And the whole point for him is to develop into, that all-around player. And 3-point shooting capabilities, it's not going to go away. It's just a matter of getting comfortable integrating that shot with all the other things that he's being asked to do. The defensive thing to me is a big thing, right? He's being asked to defend a variety of players. You're playing both ends of the floor. You're rebounding. He's getting great mid-range stuff. He's getting a lot more dunks. You know, he's had multiple double-doubles this year. I don't know exactly where his number stands, but he had 8 total last year. I think he's at 5 or 6. So I would prefer this version of Keegan because I have faith in the fact that the 3-point shooting capabilities, they're there. It's just about integrating them all into one game where you're playing at 3 levels of the floor and on the defensive end.
Would it surprise you, Katie, as it did me to see this earlier, that Keegan Murray is actually shooting a career high percentage from 3 for the month of November in his career?
How many has he taken?
I don't know. I just know I didn't see that part, but it was interesting to me. Somebody posted that it's like 29.8%, but he's, with all the talk, he just doesn't like November apparently.
Yeah, I haven't looked up his month by month numbers yet because we're not even through the first full month of the season, but I kept it on my game boards last year, and his month by month and his home versus away shooting numbers. And it's interesting because, like Trey Lyles is shooting the mess out of the ball right now, but he started off so poorly that it impacts the overall number. So I think a lot of people tend to just look at what your overall shooting numbers for the season, and they don't really break it down into, months or home versus away, those types of things. So it would surprise me, but I don't think he's taking, and I could be wrong here. I mean, I think he's still averaging about 6 attempts a game. The last time, I looked a few days ago, I believe, and that's about what he averaged his first 2 years.
Kyle, you have the number there in front of you?
Yeah, so in the month of November, Keegan is 17 for 60, and he's averaging 5.5 attempts per game.
So that compared to last year?
Give me 2 minutes and I'll figure it out.
Excuse me. Go ahead, Katie.
I think it's a little bit down. It's a little bit down in terms of, but slightly, like 1 a game, right? But look at all the other things that he's doing. I mean, he dunks. I started tracking last year with him because he only had a handful in his rookie year, and last year it was crazy. And there was a game earlier this year. I can't remember which one. That's asking me to organize a lot in this brain. I couldn't even get the day right. So you follow me. But I think there was a game recently where he had like 3 dunks in a game.
6.5 3-point attempts per game last November. So one more last year than this year.
Yeah, 1 less. So, but he's still, he has to take the shots. And I think that Keegan is the type of player that, he seems very unaffected, but that's also asking a 3rd-year player to do a lot mentally in terms of struggling shooting the ball, keep taking them, and don't think about all the ones that you've missed. He just has to work it out in his mind. And the thing that I love about it is Mike Brown is the type of coach where he's never going to be like, hey, let's look for another type of shot for you right now. Absolutely not. He's going to pull him out if he doesn't shoot it. So the reason why Keegan is taking these wide open shots and not second guessing himself is because last year Mike Brown made it very clear he would pull him out of a game immediately if he did not take an open shot.
Katie, I'm thinking about since we last talked to you too, you saw firsthand history from De'Aaron Fox on that game on Friday night. And Dave and I were talking about it on Monday that, we saw De'Aaron do it. We can believe he did it. And it wasn't even a sense of where he, hit 15 3-pointers or just some outlandish things. It was just kind of all of the parts of his game elevated. And it didn't seem like it was a stress on him or a burden. It just was a night where he really got it going. And to see him go for 60, followed by 49, even the game he had the other night, how do they get that great, amazing version of De'Aaron paired with, DeRozan and Sabonis when they all come back?
Well, I mean, you're not going to get that version every night because he took 35 shots each night. And to be honest, you don't want to have to depend on one guy on your roster to get 35 shots. You need him to still get quality looks, but also not make him have to carry that big of a load, because the reality of it is De'Aaron is having a fantastic start to the season defensively as well. And we ran the numbers the other day in terms of kind of top 10 defensive guys by numbers. And by the way, Keegan, Domas, and De'Aaron were all on that list. So when you look at the return of both, Domas and DeMar, you don't want De'Aaron taking 35 shots. But I think the recipe for how he got those needs to stay the same, in the sense that in that game against Minnesota, there was a shift in terms of his focus on getting into the paint. And it was like a switch was flipped to me watching it, his mentality. Because De'Aaron started last year taking a ton of threes, high volume, and he shot the three well last year overall. He had some phases of the season where he struggled, but everybody does. But with his speed and his ability to, get by defenders and how successful he is in the paint, I don't know that I would prefer to see De'Aaron taking 10 threes a game. And in those games, started with Minnesota, Utah, he is getting into the paint and what they're giving. And by the way, he did this while Domas and DeMar were not on the floor. So he's still getting double teamed. And this is something that when they're on the floor, defenses don't have the ability to double team him with the frequency. But I thought Mike Brown said something really, really interesting in the press conference prior to last game. He said the thing about De'Aaron is he needs to get what he wants when he wants, regardless of what the defense is giving you. And that, to me, was the difference that we're seeing in him the last few games. Because I think a lot of times we say, you got to take what the defense gives you. Yes, you do. But superstar players can get what they want regardless of what the defense is giving them. And to me, that's the difference I've seen in De'Aaron the last few games. Because not only is he getting downhill, but when they're taking away his left hand, he's able to come back to his right and score at a high level. And I'm still processing what we've seen from him the last few games, because to me, it's very, very different from a mentality standpoint.
Kayte Christensen joining us. I completely agree with you on De'Aaron, and I think just the efficiency, like you said, I do feel like this is a guy that could average 30 points and not really, well, he'll break a sweat, but I do think that's a realistic ceiling when he's on and when they figure out this offense. This was not that 60-point game, that follow-up 47. It wasn't like he wasn't forcing. He wasn't going out of his shell. It was just he gets to his spot and he hits it, and he gets to his spot and he hits it, and then he drives and he hits it, and then the occasional three. But let me ask you something else.
And there was a point. I'm going to interrupt you before your question just to kind of make the point you're making. There was a point in one of those games that, he was on a heater and they came down the floor. Someone brought the ball up the floor and they went to give it to De'Aaron, who had just crossed half court, and he pointed to the corner. He had them send the ball to the corner. They drew the defense, ended up getting a wide open three in the other corner. He's still, kind of the puppeteer out there from an offensive standpoint. He's not just, and I feel like he wasn't forcing the issue. He really was still playing within the team concept, which, you have to give him so much credit for.
Well, then I know that you and I have had conversations over the years, and we both agree that a foul is a foul. It should be called a foul, regardless of if it's on or Orlando Johnson or Luka Doncic or against, I should say. That being said, the way, what I say, Orlando, I get that wrong? No.
Robinson.
Thank you. I thought I did. That being said, because the way the NBA is set up, do you think De'Aaron Fox is getting the whistle that De'Aaron Fox deserves?
For the most part, yeah. I think that each game kind of takes on a personality of its own when it comes to how it's being officiated. And to me, as long as it's fair on both ends of the floor, like, I'm okay with it. Every game, there's going to be a couple of fouls that are not called, right? But I also feel like it evens out to a certain degree, because sometimes, he'll draw a foul where I'm like, oh, like they gave him that one because it wasn't, to me, it wasn't egregious contact or, you kind of got to break it down that way. But, like the end of that Atlanta game, that was a clean strip. That Dyson Daniels had a clean strip and a disappointing way to lose the game. But also, I would rather have it in anybody's hands but De'Aaron, and for him to go to work doing exactly what, he's done so well pretty much his whole career.
Katie, I'm thinking also back to that last game, something pretty spectacular, unfortunately, in another loss was Keon Ellis. We hadn't seen him shoot that many threes that effectively. He's always been a pretty good percentage guy, but it's nice to see this bench contributing more than it had at the start of the season. What do you see his kind of role with this team going forward for Keon Ellis?
Well, he's forcing the issue, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
You go back to, I think it was game 2 or game 3 of the season where he registered a DNP, and it was his only DNP CD of the season. And then Mike Brown played him the next game, and he's basically forced the issue from that point on. And listen, I don't think that Mike not calling on him in that game was anything about a reflection on how Keon was playing or anything like that. It's the beginning of the season. There's new people on the roster. He went with Jordan McLaughlin in that game, and he needed to see what he can do as well and how he can use them and the groupings that he works well with. So I think that's just a product of, a new roster, new coaching staff, and trying to figure out rotations and things like that, and also give opportunity to some guys that you don't know that much about. But, he had a fantastic game last year in Oklahoma City. And I forgot about this. I looked it up when he had gone 6 for 6, and I'm like, my goodness, what is this? It's got to be his career high. And I was shocked to look and see that his career high was 8 triples in OKC last April. And I had completely forgotten about that game. We know he's capable of this. My thing with Keon is he's becoming, when you have someone like Malik and Keon coming off the bench, like what a luxury is that? And the bench production has been so low this season. And this is a bench that over the last couple of years have been one of the top bench scoring units in the league. So it's now you're seeing Keon develop, and he plays so well at both ends. You guys, defensively, I absolutely love to watch him. He does so many things so well, and it's just stuff, unless you're kind of watching him on a possession, that they just don't stand out. You don't see him, but like I recognize these things and I'm in awe of those. The offense is a huge bonus to me, but to see him go off like he did the other night, it was really, really fantastic. And it came at a time where one of my keys to the game is like the bench has to step up. They've been, depleted, and it was a rough start to the season for bench production. Malik had kind of a slow start in terms of efficiency, really. I mean, he's still, I think, scoring double digits he's averaging early in the season, but you need guys like Trey Lyles. You need guys like Keon. Those guys have to step up and carry a lot of that load in that second unit.
That's Kayte Christensen joining us, as she does each and every Wednesday. Katie, why was that funny? You what?
No, because I forgot it was Wednesday today. So
yes, we'll send you a candygram. Real quick, I'm not sure if we're going to talk to you next week. I guess we will. But when will you be starting your Thanksgiving prep, and why was it a month ago?
No, not at all. I mean, we're on the road for Thanksgiving, and so we're going to do our Thanksgiving, I think, on Saturday. I mean, the day we get back we'll get back, I don't know, 2:00 in the morning on Saturday from LA, and do it then. And then we've got a game Monday, and then we leave. I think we leave on, I don't know. You guys are asking a lot for me. Yeah, we leave Tuesday because we play in Minnesota on Wednesday. So yeah, no, it's like this is 2 years in a row that I'm missing Thanksgiving. So we're just going to do a family dinner at home and I'm not doing a turkey. The only thing that I'm doing that is my traditional Thanksgiving stuff is my dad's dressing that he makes, his stuffing, and we'll probably do steaks and just something simple on Saturday, but it'll be nice. I am Christmas decorating though already. So.
You're not doing a turkey?
No.
Why?
No, there's 5 of us. there's 5 of us. What are we gonna? You can't even. It would be easier to get like a chicken from Costco.
Yeah, you eat the turkey, the 5 of you, and then you have leftovers.
Okay, so no, my
What?
mother-in-law does not eat very much, and then I've got one kid that'll eat turkey, one kid that eats chicken nuggets. Like it's not. It's. Don't you judge me. I know how to feed my family.
Wow, all right. What are you gonna do for Christmas? Tacos?
Ooh.
No, we have, a few days off before Christmas, I think, or 2. We'll do a full normal holiday meal. I'll actually be here for it.
Okay. All right. Well, enjoy your sort of Thanksgiving on Saturday and enjoy your week. And thank you so much for joining us whenever that may be. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye. That's Kayte Christensen. Not a
I
turkey.
felt like you were being judgmental.
Yes. How do you not have a turkey for Thanksgiving?